you for which to vote.
Thank you, and thank you very much for inviting me to participate in this. This is my 30th year of the practice of law, even though it doesn't look that way. And so I sort of came up through the school of hard knocks. And first I want to say that you can absolutely be successful attorneys, and you can be gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, questioning, queer. As long as you work hard, you can succeed. It doesn't mean that everybody in the world is quite where some of us are in terms of understanding the importance of diversity and inclusion and welcoming everyone. It is changing. I think I was the first openly gay member of the Supreme Court Commission on Professionalism nearly 20 years ago. I've served on a number of positions within the Florida Bar. I'm currently on the Standing Committee on Diversity and Inclusion, and on and on. The reason I say that is not to say, oh, wonderful, isn't that swell? It's to say that if you get involved, and you can make a difference. It may take a while to make a difference, but I fully expect everybody here will make a difference through their careers and through their examples. So I got involved in the LGBT legal community, professional community, and other things sort of as an accidental activist. I was married for 17 and a half years, divorced, came out, both in the workplace and in my personal life, and I realized that I had to be honest. That's part of my integrity of who I am. So fortunately, I guess I had sort of some experience behind me. People actually thought I knew what I was doing, which can be a challenge, when you're trying to start out. What can you say? What will people think? So people had some idea about me. Well, they probably had a lot of ideas, but they thought I might know what I was doing, and so that was helpful. And I transitioned that, some of that energy, which I use in courtrooms on behalf of clients to try to speak and write and talk and change minds and give people just another perspective. And I have found that generally, if you offer people a real person and a real face and a real personality, that people tend to be more accepting. So I'll probably let somebody else talk now, but I don't know if I answered that question of how I got involved. It really wasn't a choice for me. It wasn't a choice to be gay, and it wasn't a choice once I knew I was gay and I had some ability to talk to people and persuade people. I had no choice but to talk about it.
Well, I thought I was a flaming heterosexual until I went to graduate school in Tallahassee, and I had to take a course in institutional prejudice, it was called at the time. This was back in the mid-'70s. And one of our assignments was we had to find a discriminating against person of any kind of discrimination. We had ex-crimes, we had ethnic minorities, we had all kinds of people. And I decided I was going to interview a lesbian. So I interviewed this lesbian, and a few weeks later she invited me to go out with her to the bar. And then I discovered at the age of like 26 that maybe I wasn't a flaming heterosexual. And it was very fortuitous, because at the time, one of my graduate assignments, one of my internships in the MSW program at FSU, I was working at the University Counseling Center, and I was assigned to be the intake counselor for the gay peer counseling program. So I had all these people who were looking for peer counselors, who were wrestling with their sexual identities at the same time I was. So it was a very growth-inducing experience. And then I moved to D.C. Talk about an out-seed. Tallahassee was a little conservative, but D.C. was pretty wild. The clubs in D.C. were something. And then I made a career move that some people questioned. I went in the Navy. And this is before Don't Ask, Don't Tell, which was Witch Hunt City. I mean, if somebody even suspected you might be gay, of Jacksonville, and the first weekend I was there, I was hit on by all these Navy nurses. It was incredible. So I managed to retire from the reserve after I was retired early, after 15 years because of the downsizing after Desert Storm. So I made it through my career. I am drawing my retirement check now. And I'm getting married in May.
Yay!
And she will qualify for my veterans benefits. So it paid off. I wrote one of the things that happened to me in my career was people would, I've always been pretty open. One day when I was at the University of Pennsylvania, my supervisor in the marriage and family therapy program asked me if I was gay. And I thought, okay, I don't usually talk about my sexual preference at work or at school. And I said, why do you ask? And he said, well, you really need somebody that can really help the gay couples that come in for counseling, and it would be good to have somebody who was openly gay be the primary go-to counselor for that community. Because a lot of marriage and family therapists still don't get it. And but as soon as I identified as being gay, they started giving me all the gay clients, and then I got like all the disabled clients, and then I started getting assigned all the clients that other people felt uncomfortable with. So in that way, my coming out kind of pigeonholed me in that setting. But that's never been a problem since. I'm in a profession where if somebody in my profession hasn't worked through the issues about heterosexism and homophobia and all that, then we shouldn't be working. You know, we shouldn't be working. But there's a lot of counselors in our culture that are still prejudiced. And so my specialization was in trying to help people be more sensitive to diversity. And I wrote a chapter on doing therapy with lesbian couples that was published in a marital therapy book. So I keep trying to do what I can, but you know, your profession is different, but we'll talk about some of that in a minute.
Yeah, just to reintroduce myself, my name is Adam Bowe. I'm an assistant appellate defender. And I guess we're doing the whole story thing. I guess my parents knew I was gay before I did. So I remember being 14 and them sitting me down and doing the whole, like, you know, we love you no matter what, you can tell us anything. So I grew up in a family, my mother's brother is gay and has been with his partner for 25 years now, so fortunately grew up in a very supportive family. Officially came out with my parents, I think, at like 19 or something once I went to college. So yeah, I made the strange decision to go to a small liberal arts school in Greenville, South Carolina, which is not the most progressive place ever, but worked for me. And you know, the coming out process is interesting. You come out so many times in your life. They make it sound like you say, I'm gay, and it gets posted on a bulletin board, and everyone reads it, and then, you know, everyone knows. But, you know, in reality, you know, you come out to your family, you come out to your friends. You go to college, and you start the process all over again. After college, I went to the state attorney's office. I was a paralegal there for a few years. Did it all over again. Go to law school here. Do it all over again, and you know, eventually now I'm in the public defender's office. I think I'm lucky. The public defender's office, the way they break it up is that you start out in county court, which you're mostly doing misdemeanors. It's all brand new attorneys. I'm probably one of the older attorneys in my divisions. At 32, most of them are fresh out of law school, 26, 27 years old. The state attorneys you're going to be going against also are fresh out of law school, late 20s, early 30s. And, you know, obviously, generally younger generations tend to be more accepting, be more supportive of you. So, honestly, in our office, haven't had that many issues. I will say issues you come up with, obviously, with the public defender's office is you're representing the indigent clients. This can be anyone from, you know, a young person who messed up and got a DUI to, you know, I'll have clients who spent 30 years in prison on second-degree homicide charges. So you get issues there. I don't know how many of my clients like look at me and go, oh hey, there's a gay guy there. I tend to, my perspective is I imagine, of course, that people look at me and be like, whoa, look at gay. And I've learned that's not necessarily true all the time. So, you know, I've obviously, domestic battery happens in every family. And so I've represented gay clients in domestic battery charges, petty theft, DUI. Those are pretty much your major three that you work at in county court. So I don't really know the point. So, I mean, I guess that would answer the first part of the first question. Involvement and interaction in the LGBT community. I've done a little bit of work with Jasmine in the past. I'm good friends with Dan Merkin, who works there. Additionally, the last time the Human Rights Ordinance was to be amended, I worked on that panel, just getting support through corporate entities as far as their support. I don't know how familiar you are with that. A couple years ago, the Human Rights Ordinance in Jacksonville basically says you can't be fired based for race, gender, religion, ethnicity, age, a couple others maybe, I don't know, but it doesn't include sexual orientation or gender identity. And so there was an attempt, it's ramping back up basically. We lost last time, and so we're doing it again, and do it again and again and again. But went before the city council and tried to get the, got a sponsor on the city council, Councilmember Brown. And unfortunately, that effort failed. I think we're one vote short of kind of a watered down amendment to it. So that's doing it again. So I've worked a little bit on that in the past. However, I am a relatively new attorney. There's still a lot I do not know. And so really, to be honest with you, I've mostly been wrapped up in just trying to figure out what in the world I'm doing in my job.
Okay, cool. We have another set of questions around the process of interviewing for a job and the process of how you handle, you talk about your personal situations in terms of coming out. But to start out, why don't we talk about if you have recommendations for someone who's lesbian, gay, bisexual, or transgender in terms of the interview process itself. And I guess there's sort of a preliminary question. Are there resources that you would suggest to find out whether or not someone is, if you're going to be interviewing with in a gay-friendly environment or not? So sort of the interview process and related issues, and then we'll get into some more specifics, but generally about that. So, did you say thank you?
I do have some suggestions. First of all, I think everybody should be able to be true to themselves, because if you're a brown suit person, you can't wear a blue suit for the rest of your life. So don't set yourself up to look bad in blue if you're not going to do it. And so if you look at the opportunities that are out there, and those opportunities are increasing, but I think you can look at a firm or a company, an organization. If I were starting out, I would look to see what kind of things that company or that firm stands for. Go to their website, look to see who already works there. Do they value diversity in general? Because if they don't value diversity in general, you can pretty much rest assured they ain't going to value yours. If they support organizations, either financially or they have people who are involved. Sometimes they'll say on their website, you know, what their diversity statement. They may have a diversity principle. A lot of firms, if you go to their pull-down tabs, they'll actually talk about us, and they'll have their own diversity page. Some large firms have their own diversity committees. And on that page, they may talk about LBGT involvement. They may support, for example, even if they don't have that, they may give money, or people may be involved in giving money to the HRC or the Equality Florida. They may have signed some statement of principle. So if you do some homework, you can maybe find out who is friendly and who is less friendly, so that you don't put yourself in a place to work for 2 years or 3 years or 5 years and be miserable and not want to stay there. That's, you know, it may be good experience, but you can discern some of those things that way.
Judy, I'm not sure if you've had that within the legal community in particular, if you've heard different suggestions about someone that'll help with that good for you.
I agree that if you don't look good in brown, then you probably shouldn't, you know, go to a company that preparing for today, I read several articles, and one of the interesting things I found was, as recently as 2012, only 52% of college-educated professionals are out at work. That means 48% of college professionals, white-collar professionals, aren't open about who they are in their job. And when you think about it, it's a very scary thing to come out at work, no matter what company you're working at. So you have to deal with fear. You always have to deal with fear, even if you're in a company that has friendly policies. You might run into, like your super might be a homophobe or something. You know what I mean? So there's always going to be an element of fear in a new situation. But research shows that gay men and lesbian women have a slightly higher rate of depression and anxiety and substance abuse issues. And all the research tried to figure out, well, is it because of the environment that they work in or lived in, or the discrimination they've suffered, or whatever, or is it some kind of brain chemistry thing that goes along with the brain chemistry of why a person is gay or lesbian to begin with? You know what I mean? It's like, is it just part of the makeup or what? Or are gays and lesbians more likely to go for treatment? So they have all these statistics, but they don't really have reasons for them. So if you might have a tendency toward depression, and I've read that up to 65% of attorneys aren't happy in their jobs. So I always tell people, you want to find an environment where you feel supported. So even if I know that money's tight and you have a tendency to want to take the first job that you're offered and all that, but if you do your homework first and know that this place is going to be prickly, it's not going to be a comfortable place, then I look elsewhere.
And I only interviewed for one job. I went into law school knowing I wanted to be a appellate defender, and so basically just did whatever it would take to do that. So basically, one thing I will say is if you're interested in the appellate defender's office or the state attorney's office, get an internship there and volunteer there. That's how you get it. So I did. I knew our Matt Shirk before beginning the appellate defender's office, and so basically just went to him and I was like, look, I want to be a appellate defender. It's the only job I want. What do I have to do? They didn't have an opening at the time, and so I volunteered for about 2 months. And then they basically emailed me, and they're like, well, I think on a Wednesday, and they're like, can you start Monday? So that was kind of my interview process, was essentially volunteering there. So, but I mean, essentially, obviously they got to know me through the volunteer process. I worked with an attorney closely, basically handled half of his caseload for him. I would say, I mean, really, what we've always said through doing trials and stuff, you can't do a good job representing your client if you're not yourself. You're not going to be, if you're spending your whole time worried about what people think about you at work or what a jury thinks about you on a personal level, you're not going to be able to devote that time to represent your clients in an honest and effective manner. So, I mean, I guess I would say, my interview process is essentially volunteering. There's, I don't know if it's possible to come out with someone in a non-awkward manner, or maybe this is me, but people, you get to know people, they ask you questions, they ask you, you dating someone, or, you've been on a dating site recently. I mean, just, drop some pronouns in there, and they'll figure it out real quick unless they're an idiot. So, yeah, I don't know, I mean, yes?
Did you tell Matt Shirk about your sexual orientation?
We have mutual friends, and he knew me before. I'm good friends with one of his very, very good friends, and I've hung out with him in social situations before, so yes, he did. They have, and I will say our office is very diverse on every level. I think at this point everyone at the office knows I'm gay. I honestly don't know.
I take polls, I ask them.
Yeah, I mean, I can probably do that. that. I can send out an email or something. But yeah, I mean, I would say in our office, I've run into no issues whatsoever. We have multiple gay and lesbian employees there, from division chiefs and felony handling rock cases, on down to the simple county board attorney. So.
Can I follow up on that?
Yeah, let me just, one quick thing, if people do want, he says, Rod, if you could not all go at once,
But it will say a lot if you all get up and leave immediately. I just wanted to say in terms of, first of all, I am not depressed. I'm happier than I've ever been. And talking to people like you, colleagues like you, is one of the reasons that makes me happy. Having said that, a friend of mine, how many in this room have heard of the case Lawrence versus the state of Texas, United States Supreme Court? Okay. Everybody can talk about it. So, a friend of mine actually was one of the lawyers that represented the guys that got caught and that ended up the United States Supreme Court overturning sodomy laws. He used to give a speech, and the acronym was FEAR, F-E-A-R, and what that stood for was Future Events Appearing Real. Future events appearing real. They're not real. They're not real, but they look to us from the inside as though they'll be real. So we're afraid to tell people who we are. We're afraid of rejection. We're afraid that we won't succeed. We're afraid that something will happen. But in reality, for the most part, people are really too busy with their own lives to really care. If you connect with people, whether it's a jury, some may care that you're gay or lesbian or whatever, and some may not. But you won't be able to be the best you can be until you can deal with whatever fear you have of being you. And once you do that, I think you align yourself up for success.
these are all really nice stories. Let's talk about some things that you might have observed. Oh, sorry. Okay.
Yeah, maybe the best person that person Jenny, I'm not sure, but of course, we all know the fear and anxiety that's connected to coming out. What about the psychological cost of not coming out?
All the research shows that people who are open about their sexuality or their identity are much happier and are much more productive. I read an article on the cost economy of heterosexual policy and how openly gay and lesbian employees are more productive and they participate in helping behavior. They tend to be more helpful to other employees. And also, the other one was, they actually are more team players. They're like, they cheer everybody else on. So they're helpful and they're enthusiastic about their environment. Be more open in their policies.
I was wondering, how do you draw the line between being open and being honest, and it's really not any of your business that you say? Like, I work in a family office, and the also receptionist, that wasn't really my point of working in, kind of, spread that around, but like, people think, but I didn't want that as kind of like a, so everybody where to draw that line. Like,
You don't have a personal professional distinction, personal professional.
yeah, exactly.
Well, I'm an introvert, and I don't want to tell anybody who I sleep with. Even I'm kind of embarrassed to admit my Maltese gets in bed sometimes. You know what I mean? I don't participate in Facebook. And as a therapist, I don't want my business to be the center of the discussion.
But I didn't want to ever sit there and have to lie. You have to wait for people to know how to girlfriend. So I don't really need to tell you that. I don't know if I really want to tell you that. It's not really, it doesn't affect my business relationship at all.
Well, if you had a boyfriend, would you feel differently if they just asked you to have a boyfriend and his name was Chuck? You say, yeah, he's Chuck. And if that's the case, why would you feel like it's more personal if it's Jenny instead of it's Chuck?
Well, I think, I don't know, kind of, because I was brought up, wrong, so I have to like get out of that and everything. So I think it kind of, like with my dad, like, he's okay, but he doesn't want to see it. So it's kind of like a respect for him, like I don't want to shove it in his face. I'm okay with you seeing me out with
answer for any one person. That's my personal view.
So if someone were to, like, say, ask you, you would just go and say yes.
Oh, I saw pictures. I talk about my kids. I have two beautiful daughters. One's a lawyer here in the state of Florida. One has 2 master's degrees and is an academic advisor at LSU. They're my family. My partner, when last year, when the ABA decided they wanted to award me a diversity award for 2013, my family traveled with me. So for me, I think it's a decision, and maybe it's an evolutionary decision. For me, it's a matter of integrity. If I were married to a woman and I would take her somewhere, I can't not take him. If they ask me what's her name or what's the story, as I always treated her with respect, I cannot not treat him in the same way, having taken the same vow. So I think it can be personal, and an author in Tallahassee once said that coming out, like it's like air-conditioned rooms. Everyone you go in feels a little different. You have to sort of judge what is the environment. The reality is that sometimes maybe we don't say all we want to say. If I'm in the courtroom, maybe I'm representing somebody, maybe that's a different scenario than if I'm out in a social setting or even somebody comes into my office. So I think we use judgment, and we're driven by what we think is appropriate.
I would say most of my clients honestly are more concerned about why they're in jail or why they're in jail or
That's so great to do.
whatever.
I know
So-
some people that would have an issue just like walking into your office, honestly, like, turn around. Like, I know people who do.
Yeah.
And it's great that you don't experience a lot of that, but
Well, you do. You have different interactions with different clients. I have some clients that I meet them at arraignment, the offer's time served, and they take it and they're gone. I talk to them for 30 seconds. I have other clients where if I take the case to trial, we're going to get to know each other really well. I've had clients who, hold my hand while the verdict is read by the jury and who cry and hug me. So you get different interactions with different clients. And honestly, I've had clients who've called me a fag, and luckily, unfortunately, I'm appointed to them. I'm not. I didn't choose them. They didn't choose me. But it's my job to do the best job that I can for them. I've had clients who have pulled me into a conference room and talked about that nigger cop that pulled them over. And all you can do is just tell them that's not appropriate. I don't accept that kind of behavior. You're not going to use that around me. But what are you going to do about it, honestly? So I've had clients who realize okay. Usually they don't care. I don't know. And then as far as, the judges I practice in front of know I do just because, especially in county court, you get kind of taken under a judge's wing because you go in there, you have absolutely no idea what you're doing, and they kind of train you up, and they help you, and when you screw up, they tell you why. And so, most of my judges do. I can't think of a judge in county court, at least in Jacksonville, who would have a problem. I saw one of the questions on here is about clothing in court, and it's some judges require female body people to wear skirt suits. At least in Jacksonville, I've never experienced that. I know in our office, I can't think of a single female attorney who wears skirts every single day at work.
I think the judicial conference actually teaches their judges now. They've added part of their diversity training, which is part of their judicial college.
you never had a judge that thinks they're going to do it.
No. I have some judges who don't like me, but not because there's
plenty of reasons.
There's plenty of other reasons to hate me. No, I've certainly never experienced that.
Just as a follow-up question though, so other instances, maybe you've seen it happen, whether it's a client coming in and to your private practice, issues, you talked a little bit about how you've dealt, Adam, with your clients, but other issues that you've seen and how you've handled them. And then there's a contrary question, which is actually not on our list. How can straight allies respond if they happen to see any suggestions for straight allies who might assert something and what they might also be able to do to intervene in an issue? So other circumstances that might be difficult that you've seen happen, even if you've had blissful lives being out.
Really, I think mostly my experiences have been with clients of mine. Like I said, the police office, you take, I was going to say all walks of life, but that's not true. You tend to take, people, obviously clients who are indigent. And so you're going to deal with some ignorance there. You're going to deal with, I have clients who love me to death, go back to the jail and tell all the other inmates how they wish they had me. And then some who absolutely despise me and think that I don't care about them, that, you know, they'll say, oh, I don't have a lawyer, I can pull a pen. Is kind of like the classic phrase. And so, I mean, if you were to PD's office, you get very used to having clients that absolutely do not like you. And I would say 99% of it has nothing to do with my sexuality, but because of the situation they're in or the facts that they are wrapped up in. You know, they want you to work miracles, and unfortunately that's just not a possibility. I would say, I mean, I will say, you know, obviously the majority of our office is heterosexual, and I don't know if they've really ever run into clients who used, you know, I don't, honestly, I don't know. I would say just, if you're straight out, like, just speak up, you know. I mean, if a client, so if you hear a client talking bad about someone, if you hear an attorney talking bad about someone, just a simple, hey, that's not appropriate, I'd appreciate it if you don't use that language around me, tends to work fairly well for people.
We had a incident at UPenn where the resident counselors at the counseling center were asked to do facilitating of small groups for a church, a mainline. You guys know Philadelphia at all? Mainline Philadelphia, real snooty area, just like Presbyterian, First Pres or something like that. They wanted 3 of us to come be co-facilitators for their marriage enrichment class. And so we had to submit resumes. 3 of us submitted resumes. One guy was an African American who was an ordained minister. The other woman was Jewish, and then me. And they called the center and said they were fine with the Jewish woman and with me, but they were uncomfortable with the resume of the African American minister. Isn't that interesting? I mean, I'm sure his resume was the only one that actually identified who he was by the churches that he was preacher at and all those kind of things, right? So the staff of the marriage council asked us what we wanted to do about it. And I said to them, I said, you know, so they're going to reject one of us because he's black, and they don't know that the other of us, one's a kite and one's a dyke. I mean, would they have wanted a kite and a dyke at this Christian thing? Would they? You know. So anyway, we all refused to go. And I think that kind of support is the kind of support you can give as a straight ally. You can give if you see a gay or lesbian person being discriminated against. You have to stand with them and stand up for them. We were going to get paid, you know, and we were like poor students, and we all said, no, we're not going to do it.
Larry, did you confront this?
I think what I'd like to relate, not necessarily what I personally confronted, but the question of what happens in courtrooms and so forth when there are openly gay people in front of them and there's something that happens. Bad things, people snicker, carry on, the court personnel, and I know that judges that have cleared the courtroom and had their staff remain and said, we are here to judge people by what they do or should have done. We're not here to judge people by who they are. And that kind of educational opportunity that comes from the top, I think is very useful. And so I think that the opportunity for someone to be ostracized or ridiculed because of their sexual orientation has probably decreased. As far as what allies can do, it's the same thing as if someone told, you know, a racial joke in front of me. Some of it, I would like to believe that no matter what it was, I would speak up and say, that's wrong. Not just, I don't like that, don't do that in front of me. I really, that offends me as a person, that's really wrong. But when I do that, if I'm standing there in a courtroom and I'm representing somebody and somebody makes some off-color joke, I'd like to believe that I would. I have not had that experience or that opportunity, but I would like to believe I know what I do.
Yes, my question is, I've worked with I'm street, so I've worked with gay attorneys before, and I know when I first started my internship, there was this kind of, I guess for me, I felt like it was awkward, like I was just like 99% sure that they were gay, and like wanted to ask them about, their weekend, how was your weekend, what you do, I knew they probably had a partner, because they had a weekend on or something, so, I didn't know how to broach that, and I did, I listened to the pronouns, and eventually, I figured it out, and there wasn't this, awkward moment, but I didn't know how to, comfortably broach that with them, to kind of showcase, hey, I'm cool, if you're cool, let's just be all cool. I just didn't know how to tackle that. Any suggestions?
I would suggest for him, if he's really interested, put a picture out.
Okay.
And when people have asked me that question, because I actually get calls every once in a while, and I'm saying, just ask it when you ask about their weekend. Maybe you talk about other gay friends you have, so that you kind of exhibit that welcoming environment so they feel more comfortable. Because we're still at a point where not everybody feels comfortable. We don't have employment discrimination protection throughout the state. There's a lot of bad things that can happen, and even if they don't openly fire you, discriminate or fire you, suddenly you reach the glass ceiling and you're not going any higher. So, but allowing somebody to know that you're welcoming and that would be welcome gives them the opportunity to open up in a safe way and know that they're in a safe place around safe people. That's my suggestion. And nobody's ever called me back and said, you asshole, you really blew up that friendship for me.
You could certainly talk about the great panel that you went to this week. I'm single, I don't have a photo to put out or anything, but, you could certainly, I don't know. Talk about, go to Metro this weekend. I had such a good time at the gay bars. I know hard places in Metro, I would say, drop some very heavy-handed clues.
Sticker that says I'm a straight ally.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm straight, but not
a
narrow.
HRC sticker on the back of your car or something like that.
Who most people think is a Swedish flag, by the way.
Can I get you some pizza before it disappears?
No. I have plenty of insulation. Thank you.
I do have one question that is about resources and networking. What are you familiar with in terms of this part of the country, broader, Lavender Law, broader national networks? What kind of networking opportunities, particularly locally, as part of the Southeast, but also suggest for folks?
I know in Jacksonville they have it's called First Fridays. I haven't been in a while. I think they still do. If you're familiar with the Avondale area, there's a restaurant called Fish. Fish, yes. And they have a bar on the second floor, and I think on First Fridays they have like a gay and lesbian get together or something like that. And I know there's a lot of professional people who go there. Certainly volunteer. Jasmine's an awesome organization. They do really, really good work. There's that. There's a few prominent gay attorneys in Jacksonville. Jimmy Mignette works at Legal Aid and is really active with Jasmine in the HRC or the HRO and MS. There's always that. I grew up here, so I kind of went into. I think I know where you're going left already, but I would say, especially First Fridays, I think is a great opportunity.
I have a couple. I'm not from Jacksonville. I don't spend a lot of time here, so I can't really guide you that way. As you progress in your career, however, I want to make you aware of a couple of opportunities. First of all, there are LGBT bar associations within the state that are voluntary bars of the Florida Bar. So it's an official recognized organization. The one that I think is closest to you is the Central Florida Gay and Lesbian Law Association that operates out of Orlando. It has a website. It offers affiliate membership for law students. That may be a great way to find a mentor or ask a question or somebody that may understand you better. There is also the National Gay and Lesbian Bar Association. I don't know if they have student affiliate, but they also have a website. They have lots of information, and they're there to help and network and work with you. As far as the Jacksonville Bar, I have been involved with some of the activities of the Jacksonville Bar Association, and it is my perception, at least, that although Jacksonville is a fairly conservative area, that the leadership of the bar is very attuned to diversity and is a fairly welcoming and beginning to become more progressive. So I suspect that there are some opportunities there, and if anybody needs to delve into that, you'll contact me. I'll be happy to discreetly call the president of the Jacksonville Bar and say, "What the hell y'all got going on up there?" I got some folks. Maybe if I can help, I'll be happy to do that.
Equality Florida is always looking for student volunteers to help with some of their initiatives, talking to council people, talking to court people and all that. They have the website that you can, Nadine Smith is the person who came here and approached us. I want to find a faculty member who would be willing to be like the faculty liaison for Equality Florida.
But it is a political organization versus a professional organization. You can just, and you certainly can be involved, and I encourage you to be involved in both. If you want to focus, though, those are two different avenues to pursue.
And do you know if like, let's say we want to start a Jacksonville chapter, how that would work? Since obviously you're going to
Well, I'll tell you what I did, because I started in my kitchen. And I sat down with a group of like-minded people and said, this is what we want to accomplish. And it's really kind of funny because we scared people to death. They thought we were this hugely funded gay mafia, that if they didn't give it to us, they'd be in big trouble. So it never really happened that way. But we did manage to participate in getting some things done, including an HRO in Orlando. But I would get like-minded people and get together, and I will say that I'm confident that the Central Florida Gay and Lesbian Bar Association will be willing to reach out and network, help in any way we can, give you copies of our bylaws, any way that we can help foster that kind of growth here in this part of the community, we would be happy to do.
There's also a meetup, a Jacksonville Business and Professional, LBGT Business and Professional Solutions Fair. Has a lot of networking opportunities, particularly when you're out in practice and you want to do client building, that kind of thing. So you're working with other business professionals. So it can be a good supporting network, but it's a professional network.
Like a gay chamber of commerce.
Exactly, yeah. Just don't beat up.
I know all these buzzwords.
So we have one question that's kind of floating up that we started to touch on, and then I want to open up and make sure we have a chance for other folks to ask questions. And that is this question. We talked about sort of women wearing pants rather than wearing dresses or skirts, but we have sort of this more cutting edge issue that we're wondering if you've had any exposure with the bar or the bench with respect to, particularly for women who are gender non-conforming, that tend to identify more with the trans side in terms of how they dress and present. If you have any thoughts or observations about that in terms of your experience.
I'm waiting because I have thoughts about everything.
I mean, I think it's a complex issue. I think that, as I said earlier, you have to be true to yourself. However, at the same time, you have to balance the best way to represent your client, especially in front of a jury. I mean, it's difficult, honestly. I would say it's very difficult because, I mean, when you pick a jury, you're drawing from so many people down to so many people, and it's generally people who aren't good enough to get out of jury duty you're picking. So, I mean, I think that you have to find some sort of balance where you can be true to yourself and you're not sitting there worried about hiding who you are or anything. But at the same time, ultimately, you do have a responsibility to represent your client in the best way possible, however that may be. I would say that I certainly have a wardrobe that I wear in trial versus a wardrobe that I wear a normal day in court. And I think that has some aspect to it, but ultimately, I mean, if you are your gender is male, then by all means you should dress the way that you are. I honestly don't know how you could honestly represent your client while not being honest to yourself.
The problem with gender bending clothing is that it hooks people's very strong negative emotion. It's called projection. And if like there's a guy who has been angry his whole life because he has to wear these suits and he has to wear these ties and he has to wear these clunky shoes and he has to, and then he sees a guy come in with really flouncy clothes, it makes him really mad. Because here, this guy is just dressed any way he wants, and here I am, my whole life in this suit with a tie, so it hooks people's very strong negative emotions. And that's how come people get beat up with baseball bats and stuff like that. It's projecting your own negative self-image on somebody else. So, and gender is really a touchy issue for a lot of people. It's just, if you're a man, you should dress like a man, and if you're a woman, you should dress like a woman. And so, it kind of it opens you up to draw out people's negativity. And I don't know how many of us really want to go around making people mad just the way we look. You know what I mean?
I don't like to be hit with a baseball bat. So I try to avoid that. Having said that, I think that although I don't look like the svelte model I could have been in a different life, when I go in the courtroom, I am modeling for my client. There's nothing about me that should distract from their cause. And if there's a conservative judge, I have to take that into consideration. I might even have to bite my tongue a time or two. For the same reason, when I'm being videotaped in depositions, I wear a blue shirt because it shows up better. There are things that we have to do like you would do in any situation. Having said that, it might mean that might affect your career choices. If you feel like wearing a particular kind of clothing is part of you and part of your integrity, I would not encourage you not to do it. But it might affect what you want to do. Maybe you don't want to go in front of conservative juries or in front of conservative judges and put yourself in a place. That's a hard decision, and I guess I don't really have any feeling about it because I don't want people to feel negative about themselves, but I don't want them to be hit with a baseball bat or have their feelings hurt either.
I think, I don't know what you say, but I think the question was kind of more, at least in my mind, someone who is like a woman who's butch. Like my girlfriend would never go to court in a skirt, but is that saying that instead of people like, oh wait, that's a girl and she's wearing like pants, she wouldn't wear girl pants either, she'd wear a suit. How does that, people would notice, but you don't want to, she's not going to put on she won't be able to be herself and put on a skirt, and, you know what I'm saying?
Well, it seems to me, when I appear in front of juries, I look for things like, where's their wedding band? I look to see what they have on. That tells me something about their attitudes and their demographics. By the same way, they're looking at us for the same reason. So if you get a room full of people, there's going to be some people that like it and some people that don't. So unless you know, until I put my 6 people in a jury box, I don't have any idea what that pool is like. And when she walks into a room, when she talks to the people, she's not going to know.
I mean, like on a general basis, would you like advise not to do that?
No, I don't have any general advice for that.
That sounds like that's kind of your view, the panel's view.
Yeah.
We've got 3 different questions, so I'll start.
And just to clarify that, actually, that question was mine, and it was leaning more towards what you had said. I happen to be, for all intents and purposes, I do identify mostly, at least socially and professionally, as female. I am female-bodied, but on a more personal level, I do consider myself to be gender non-conforming. But I understand and I'm able to make the differentiation between what to project in certain situations and what not. I find my own comfort level. So a lot of people say, well, if that's how you feel, then you should let everybody know. It's like, no, I can gauge what I want to do and what I want to put out there based on my different scenarios and things of that nature. But the question is, being 6 foot tall, I have a more masculine build. I look pretty awkward in dresses and things like that. So my question was more like along the lines of what you were saying, like when I wear skirts, even though like I am perceived more as a crossdresser because there are people that I'd say 75% of the time I'm perceived as male regardless of what I wear. When I had long hair, I'm still perceived as male by many people, like checking the signs on the bathroom door. So my question is more, when I'm out shopping for suits, which I'm not, like I do like suits, would it be appropriate for me to go and choose from a male variety of suit versus a female's variety of pantsuit, and which I also look very awkward in? And as far as that goes, like, is there a way to like kind of morph it, like where, okay, so maybe I could feminize it by not wearing a tie, perhaps, things of that nature. Because the other comment about, same question of I don't personally know of any judges that require you to wear skirt suits. I've only been here for a semester and a half at this point. However, I was told by several people that there are judges out there that do require, that are more conservative when they have female attorneys present, that they do require that of them. So maybe I was incorrect, maybe these people were incorrect where I got this information from, I'm not sure. But that's why I brought this up, because going into a court wearing a skirt, I think that would be an aesthetic, like a disadvantage to a potential client, because it's very apparent that I look very out of place wearing that type of clothing, if that makes sense.
It's me.
I'd like the panel's response to that.
I couldn't imagine a judge, at least in the Duval County Courthouse, requiring you to wear a skirt. I've certainly never seen it, and certainly people in our office, there are many female attorneys in our office who I've never seen in a skirt, who is in pants every single day. I mean, as far as your particular example, I mean, I think that probably your inclination is right. I mean, if you wanted to wear a suit that fits you the way you want it to fit, and maybe throw on a pink shirt or something, you know? I mean, honestly, it can be something as simple as that. There you go. Honestly, I know the state attorney's office in our judicial district is pretty restricted on what their attorneys are allowed to wear in trial. I mean, as far as at least the guys, I know they have to wear a navy blue or dark suit and a white shirt and a red or blue tie in trial. And that is what they are to wear. Our office doesn't care. I wear purple and pink in trial all the time. I know that the female state attorneys I've gone against generally do wear skirts in trial, but I couldn't imagine there being a problem with wearing just a normal suit. I don't really see that being an issue.
I'd like to believe that is an urban myth. And the reason I would like to believe that a particular judge did that is because in the 90s, the Supreme Court of Florida commissioned a group of people to study gender in the courts. And one of the things that neither the participants nor the judges are allowed to do is comment on the appearance, male or female. And so I have a hard time accepting that a judge could tell a woman to wear a skirt or the pumps are too low or something like that. And I think that is a failure of that judge and probably should be taken up in the appropriate venue. I also want to say that the questions that you raise are important questions as we move forward as a profession and as we move forward in our court system, so that everybody gets an equal shot, whether they're the lawyer presenting things or they're in not necessarily a courtroom, but in other settings, that you are able to voice whatever you need to voice without fear of what they think about the color of your shoes or the cut of your coat. So it's very important, and I encourage you to participate in that dialogue. And if it becomes a problem, I haven't experienced that, but again, I guess one of the reasons that I'm here is because I've been around a long time, and so I have a fairly decent network of lawyers and judges and people around the state. There are people that have faced that issue, friends of mine that I'm sure have faced it and could give you more mentoring, direct, real-time advice than I can, and I'd be happy to help any way I can facilitate a real answer for you.
one thing is know your judges, know your juries.
That's right. And I will say, in terms of, if state attorneys or public defender women are wearing skirts, it may not be because of a rule that's imposed on them by a boss. It, again, may be they are going to go in front of a group of people, they don't know what that people's like, and they may have taken a safe route in order to do that, a choice to give them the most advantage as an advocate. It may not be that a judge or somebody else said, oh, you've got to wear this. There was a crazy judge in Miami at one time for a while. He was going to make all the lawyers wear red robes and fluffy. That lasted about a week. So, it can happen.
And then Emily, and then I saw another thing.
I think it depends on a lot on location, because I'm from the north and I'm a gender nonconforming, and growing up as a person of color, a lot of times, trying to avoid the unwanted attention because of, the way of my body is made up. I have always worn baggy clothes because that's what I was comfortable with, and that, I didn't like males, so I didn't want their attention. So I've always, worn things like that. Not until I came here into law school, the issue of having to, wear certain things like wearing a skirt. I would never wear a skirt. I've never worn a skirt. I don't own pantyhose, heels. I don't know how to walk in those. So to have to come into a profession where you have experiences in where internships, going to the interview, they say just conservative. To me, conservative wouldn't be a skirt because that's provocative. To me, conservative would be a pantsuit. But coming here and hearing people say you should wear pantyhose, the heel should be this length. Like, I don't wear that stuff, so how am I supposed to? What am I supposed to wear? And what's not conservative? Like, from New Jersey, I think certain things. Skirts and pantyhose are not conservative, but up here, Southern roots, old judges, what they want, I don't want to go and disadvantage my client, but I also, going to law school, I have to advocate for myself as well. Like one of the panelists said, I can't honestly fight for someone's own rights if I can't protect my own.
I was just gonna follow up. I know that for a fact that there is one judge in Nassau County that requires females to wear a skirt. I've been in front of every judge in Duval County and in the family circuit, and no judges require skirt suits here in Duval. But if you're ever in front of Judge Foster, he does require a skirt suit and pantyhose. So unfortunately, there are still judges out there with that, but he's the only one that I've ever ran into that issue with. And also, I think that as far as I call it uniform goes, your clothing goes, I think it really just depends on the judge too. And I know you get more comfortable with the judges, they get more comfortable with you. I know I'm in dependency court a lot, just as a guardian ad litem, and I always wear a suit. And you have the attorneys in dependency court and summer dresses and slacks and a t-shirt. I mean, some people, it really just depends on the judge, and I think it's the longer that you're in practice, the longer that I've been around, it feels like people get more comfortable with the judge and he never really says anything, and judge fitting in the dependency court is kind of strict. So I really just think it depends on how long who the judge is and how often you're exposed to them to kind of get a feel for what they would accept and what they
What
would.
happens if you show up to court and not in a skirt?
That's what I was gonna ask you. Yeah, good question.
If you're not in Nassau County, then you won't hear the case. Typically then they'll reset it.
Is this like something he tells people beforehand? Like, how did you know?
I mean, I think it's kind of just an understanding that if you go in front of Judge Foster, I believe he also is the one that brings his dog into court every day and has his dog laying at his feet underneath his desk. So.
I like dogs. I know
Yeah.
what it is.
Yeah, so, like, he is older and very conservative, and I believe they're actually, he might be off the bench soon, retirement or other things. I'm not quite sure, but I did hear that too. And,
I think it would help if we wore skirts.
That's unbelievable, I
Yeah.
can't do that.
Yeah, and he's been like that, I guess, for a while. And then and then the family law ends with court. So from a family law perspective, there's one family law attorney here in Jacksonville that is a lesbian, and she never wears skirt suits. So I don't know if she has something in front of Judge Foster, if she just doesn't decide, she puts another attorney on it or something like that. But there are ways around it, and I think that, again, you have to be comfortable with who you are, but at the same time, and this is just speaking from my clinic
and then the next row.
I was gonna say exactly what she said, about the judge in Nassau County. I had a professor tell me about him, but I also heard that he's been told numerous times that he can't do that. And all due respect to a judge, he has been informed that just as you said, the Supreme Court, making that decision that they can't, comment on someone's appearance, he's been told multiple times. So, I mean, again, you just probably have to research. That was the exact same comment, but he's been told not to.
Requirements to happen.
Yeah.
Oh, I just wanted to say, I think that just has a large part to do with, I feel like, just the legal field in general. Like, it's more so, regardless, I feel like whether you're gay or whether you're straight, everybody had their own, I guess, way in which they like to dress. And when it comes to legal situations, like whether it's an internship or different things like that, you just kind of, it's like a game that you're playing pretty much. You have to speak a certain way, you have to dress a certain way. So, and I mean, I'm straight and I love to wear dresses and skirts. However, sometimes when it's wintertime, I don't want to wear that. I want to wear slacks. But when it comes to certain events, I just wear that, for that occasion. Like, we have an event tonight at school where we have to dress up. I didn't want to be dressed up all day. But when it comes to that event, I'm going to change my clothes before that. So I think even though I guess you may feel awkward, like, I know some girls who, even regardless of whether them being straight or gay, some girls just do not like heels and they don't feel comfortable, walking in those. But you find, that professional little pair that I guess it's a part of your uniform, and once you get out of court, you don't have to worry about it anymore. It's more so, I feel like, when you go to court, but on your in your day-to-day job, you dress, if you like slacks, you like, pantsuits, you wear that. So I just, at least for me personally, that's just kind of like the mindset. I think it's just more so of the uniform. And not unfortunately, but a lot of people in the legal field, they are a lot older than us. So for them, it's not we have this, I don't know, they don't have an evolving, I guess, perception of what it's like to dress like in business attire. Like how they have like different types of pantsuits. They have like the ones with the capris or like the shorts and everything. No, it's either pants, it's a skirt, or a dress. So I just think that as we get older and we're carrying on these, I guess lax viewpoints of what it's like to dress professional, then I think that's when it will change. But until then.
Roseanne, and then.
Yes, I think I'd like to say on two levels here. One is on the level of sexism in general, and the other is LGBT concerns. Well, this is a sexist conversation we're having. I don't see, you mentioned wearing a skirt. Can you imagine this whole conversation trying to figure out what female attire would be most appropriate for you in the courtroom and at which you would feel the most comfortable? We would find that absurd, would we not?
Yeah.
But we're doing it for women. Now we're saying, how can we conform? How can we do this? How can we go to the judge? That's just sexism, plain and simple. And I don't think it should be accepted, but I don't think you should rub the waters so badly that you cause damage to your client or anyone else. But blind acceptance, I do not think is the right choice. On the LGBT side, times are changing. We could not say the word lesbian in public not so many years ago without having people fall over their dead faint. Truly, absolutely. So now we're struggling with what is called gender expression. People do not wear one type of clothing, whether it has to do with their gender or not. So we're talking gender expression. People's psychology is definitely affected by what they wear, what they have to wear, what they think they have to wear, what they want to wear. Little by little, maybe incrementally, maybe, I don't know, maybe through the courts. But the dress situation, as long as it is respectful, I think it should be pushed to accommodate certain gender expression that is non-conforming. And I think doing that in a respectful way and insisting on that and advocating for that is something that all of us could do. And I would like to go back to your dilemma, if I might. The amount of time, energy we spend worrying about coming out and what people will think is just a shame. Because straight people come out to me all the time. They say, hi, I'm Joe, and I'm married. This is my wife. These are my children. They come out to me all the time. But if I happen to say, well, not necessarily, but it could happen, oh yeah, well, my wife so-and-so, and I'm getting in their face then, you see. So just put that out to them. Most straight people come out to me all the time, and I'm fine with it, actually.
Excellent comments.
Any final comments from the panelists? Final thoughts, suggestions, recommendations, advice, cheers, encouragement?
I'm gonna leave some business cards, not because I'm so full of myself, but just because, nobody ever wants my cards, and I'm glad to get around. But also because there are sometimes questions that occur to you, or an opportunity, or something, and there is a lot of people out there working on these issues. Not necessarily all in Jacksonville, but all around the state and all around the country. And if you have a particular issue or concern, if I can help you get to the place or to the person that might help you address it, I'd be pleased to do that. So I make that offer, and I'll leave the cards, you can throw them away.
I'd like to say that when you're checking out a job opportunity, see if you can look at the employee handbook and find out if they have domestic partner benefits. Florida Coastal, by the way, has health insurance, vision, and dental insurance for domestic partners now. So, and that's been like 7 years or so.
And gender non-discrimination policies that include sexual orientation, LGBT, generally, as you call it, so.
I guess I would just say rip the Band-Aid off, really, with work. That tends to be the easiest. So much easier, just, I don't know, like,
Keep it off fast.
yeah, seriously, just, I don't know, if you want to put a rainbow flag in your office, put a rainbow flag in your office. If you become really good friends with one person, and you're like, hey, I'm gay, tell them to spread the word for you if you want. It's so much easier just to get it over with than to sit there and like spend all of your time worrying about it and dodging conversations and trying to work to use gender neutral pronouns or whatever. It's end of the day, I mean, I as far as coworkers, I haven't had a problem, but if I did, I couldn't imagine. I mean, they would be in such a small minority, I couldn't imagine they were doing it about it. So, yeah.
Well, thank you all very much. Give me just a second, quick round of applause for them.
There's some petition in the back to sign in support of the HRO that's going on here in Jacksonville. If you are interested in signing up for that, and then also have a sign-up sheet for Lambda Law. We have some space still available. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you, Lambda, your third traditional cultural affairs committee for putting this together.